Hi guys, today we're going to start talking about graphing linear inequalities. And I'm going to call this part one because there's kind of two pieces to this. But I want you to notice before we start that I am writing on one of the graphing organizer ones that I gave you. Doesn't matter what color it is as long as it has the graphs on there. So basically this is set up where this is kind of all for example 1 and this is all for example number 2. So we're going to work on graphing inequalities and we're going to use kind of the steps that we talked about in the last video. So first of all, I'm going to turn this just so I can write on this a little better. So we're going to graph y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 4. So the good news is it's in slope-intercept form. I can tell, that my slope, which is my m value, is negative 3, and I'm going to put it over 1 just so I can have a rise and run value. And my b value, which is my y-intercept, is positive 4. So that part I've done pretty well with. Now I need to think about my line. So my line is based on the inequality. So I have that inequality, which means it's going to be a filled in or a solid line. Now the reason I know that is because it has that equal to underneath it. Now when I start to talk about shading, again that's based on the inequality. So if it's greater than or equal to, that means I'm going to be shading above. Now what I have just done is the work I'm going to show for graphing these. So I'm expecting to see your slope and your y-intercept, the kind of line and your shading should be all kind of set out. Okay, now, because of the graph that's on here, and because I tend to move this around and so do you as we're filling it out, so I'm going to label this x and y so I can start to graph. When I start with my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is at positive 4. So my slope is negative 3 over 1. So that means that, hang on, I'm just going to make this smaller so I can write. It means I go down 3 and over 1 to make my next point. So down 3 over 1. And I'm going to keep going. And then I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to go up 3 and back 1. Now, I know this is going to be a filled in line. So I'm going to draw a line now through my points. Now, one thing I just want you to please make sure of is that when you're drawing these, if it's a filled in line, make sure I can still see your points. I know it's kind of hard to do that, but I want you the best that you can. Okay, now, if I'm looking at this and I have to shade above, above is going to be on this side. Now, I want you to notice I'm getting as close as the line as I can without touching, and I don't want it to be, oh, let me start over again. I want a thicker highlighter. I don't want to hit the line because I know in real life that if I were to actually shade on the line, it would smear whatever I had there, and I couldn't tell if it was dashed or filled in. So I want to make sure you're careful with that. Okay, now remember, anything in this shaded area is a solution to this. Because the line is filled in, anything on the line is also a solution. So you should be able to choose lots of points that would truly work in this situation. Okay, now I'm going to move this over. There we go. So I can start to look at this one. So I have graph y is less than or equal to 3/5 x minus 5. So if I start to pick out my important pieces, so for my slope, my m value, it's going to be 3 over 5. So my rise over run. My y-intercept, b, is going to be negative 5. Now make sure when you take this that you actually, it's not just 5, it's negative 5. So if it's subtraction in front of that, you got to take it with it. Okay, to do my line, I have less than or equal to, which means it's going to be filled in or shaded, or excuse me, or solid. For my shading, if it's less than or equal to, that means I'm going to be shading below. So just like the last one, here's all my work for this. And now I'm going to use that to actually graph. So before I start, I'm going to put my X and Y on here, just so I know which direction you're graphing. And I'm going to start graphing my y-intercept of -5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. -5 would be down there. Okay, now if the slope is 3/1, means I go up 3, 3/5. Up 3/5. And if I wanted to, go up another 3 and over 5. Now, if I wanted to move backwards, I could go down 3 and back 5. You should be able to see kind of where that line would be that connects them all. So I'm going to connect my points here. It should go all the way across your graph. It's a solid line. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of this little piece right here just so I can graph and have peace here. But if I'm graphing below the line or shading below the line, means I'm going to shade down here. Okay, we're going to keep graphing over the next couple days, so we'll keep working on this.